morning, everyone. We're gonna do a very gentle flow today, and we're gonna start in a child's pose. So if you want to get on your mat and just kneel in a comfortable position. You can also use a blanket if you want underneath your knees. I'll demonstrate that. Where you can either put it underneath your shins and sort of float your knees if it's uncomfortable for your knees, or if you can actually put your knees on the blanket if you need a little bit more cushioning. In our child's pose, you can have your knees together, or you can have them slightly wider. Just see what feels good to you. So if you like, you can have your toes touching and your knees kind of out to the side. And then we're going to just kind of fold forward into a place where you feel comfortable and supported. Sometimes it's nice to put a block underneath your forehead when you first get started, or some type of maybe a pillow or something underneath your forehead, just as we start to ease down into the position. And then if your legs are apart, notice as you start to come into breathing that the belly will move and the rib cage will move, and even the back of the rib cage will kind of open up just a bit as you're breathing in. And then as you breathe out, you'll notice that everything starts to kind of come back to center. If your knees are together, you're going to notice that your belly doesn't move much, but you'll feel more of that movement into the outside of the ribs and the back of the ribs, and probably a little bit more into the pelvic floor area between the sit bones. So I invite you to close your eyes and start to come into that awareness of breath. If your forehead is resting on the mat, or if it's resting on a block or on your forearms, roll your head from side to side as we start to kind of open up that sixth chakra, our area of intuition, our sort of third eye, if you will. That inner witness, where we're going to be just really observing our thoughts, our sensations, our emotions as we go through the practice this morning. And after you've rolled your head from side to side a few times, just come back to rest in the center and set an intention for your class today. We'll offer up a special intention for Sherry, who's having surgery tomorrow. And when we set an intention, we just come back to that awareness of what we're offering our energy to today: for healing, for relief of suffering, for an end to pain, for our friends and our loved ones, and for just really for the world right now. And then if it's comfortable to you and you've had a block underneath your forehead, go ahead and remove the block. And we're going to walk your hands over to the right side. So see if you can keep your sit bones really in contact with your heels, or drawing down towards the floor. And as your left hand moves towards the right, notice that there's a nice stretch through the left side of the body. And breathe into that space. If your forehead is floating now, you can just bend your right arm just a little bit and rest your forehead on that forearm. And maybe with that support of your head and your neck, you can reach just a little bit further with that left hand, still drawing that left sit bone towards the earth. And the breath exists between those two extreme movements. Always there, always present. And then we'll bring our arms back to center. Maybe reaching your fingers just a little bit longer on the mat. And then we'll walk our hands over to the left side. Again, making a little shelf with your left arm for your forehead, if that feels good. And then walking that right hand over to the left side. Keeping the right sit bone drawing down towards the earth. And we breathe into that space. Think about the invitation that's always there to breathe. And we'll take one more breath here, really observing, noticing where the breath goes in our body. And then come back to center, maybe reaching your fingers just a little bit longer again. Tuning into the rhythm of your breath, the texture of your breath. Maybe the depth. And start to see if you can exhale just a little bit longer than you inhale. And in that breath, we find the pauses, we find the spaciousness. We find a calm center to all the things that are going on in our life. And then from this child's pose, if your knees were wide, bring them closer together so they're right underneath the hips. You can still keep the blanket underneath your knees. And we're coming into a puppy pose. So again, find a place where your shoulders feel comfortable. You might even want to cross your forearms and rest your forehead on your wrist. And then take your hips over to the right, just lengthening out, again, the left side of the body. And then come back to center and shift your hips over to the left, lengthening through the right side of the body. Notice that that right elbow pressing down as the hips move away from that side really helps to open up space. And then we'll come back to center. We'll do that 2 more times to each side. Just notice the movement away from center, the grounding of the upper body. And just go at your own pace. And I call this a tail wag, as we just sort of move the hips from side to side. Again, opening up space, which is really one of the main benefits of yoga on the physical body, is that we open up this space in the tissues to allow blood to flow. And after you finish your third one, just come back to center. And then we'll go ahead and take the left arm. We're going to thread it right underneath the right shoulder, coming into a thread the needle. So your head's going to turn and you'll rest on the left side of your head, facing that left hand. And symbolically here, just noticing that energy coming into that outstretched hand. We ask, we receive. We feel that light energy just coming into the hand. And then as you are feeling that, and notice the energy moving up the left arm through that heart center, and then reaching with the right arm, palm down, giving back. So the symbolism of this pose is so rich to me. That we receive, we flavor it with our own intentions, and then we give back. And in the middle of all of that, notice the breath. Breathe in and we breathe out. And then bring your right hand a little bit closer to your body so you have some leverage to push up. We'll come into just a tabletop for just a moment, and then we're going to reach that right arm underneath the left. and come to twist the other way. And if you like that symbolism of receiving and then giving, see if you can close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out as you appreciate the coming and the going. That they're two sides of the same coin. While you're appreciating that energetic flow of prana, notice the physical body as it starts to open up and soften and receive. Just a little bit more. Take one more breath here. And then bring the left hand in a little closer to your body as you press through that left hand, and we'll come up into a tabletop. Now, if you don't want the blanket underneath your knees, if you have it there, just go ahead and remove it now. And come into a nice solid table here with the wrists, the elbows, and the shoulders nicely stacked. The knees are underneath the hips. And we'll start with a cat and cow. So allow your belly to drop down, allow your head to come up. Notice here that the shoulders can kind of pull down the back just a bit to lengthen through the neck. This is the inhale. And then on the exhale, tuck under, bring the crown of the head down, pushing with the hands and tucking the tail under. And then we'll inhale to release that, bringing the head up, bringing the tailbone up towards the ceiling. And this time, see if you can contract Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor muscles, as you tuck under and bring the crown of the head down towards the earth. Pushing the earth away, keep Mula Bandha really tight here. Then we'll inhale to release that, come up for air. And we'll exhale, gently tuck under, bringing the crown of the head down. Tightening Mula Bandha. And then we'll inhale as we come back to a neutral spine position. I'm going to have you bring your toes under. So we're going to stretch into the arches of the feet. So the bottom of the toes are on the mat and you're still in this tabletop position, but push with the hands as the hips come back towards the heels. And see if you can feel a stretch through the arches of the feet. So we inhale as we come back, and we'll exhale as we come forward, back into our table. So we'll inhale back, and then see if you can, again, contract Mula Bandha as you exhale and come forward. Good, and then we'll inhale back, releasing Mula Bandha. Breathe into the space of the pelvic floor. And then exhale, gently squeeze as you come forward. And then we'll put the toes, the top of the feet back down, and we'll just shift the hips from side to side, kind of doing that tail wag once again in the tabletop position. And once you've done that about 2 or 3 times to each side, bring your hands about 6 inches in front of the shoulders, maybe 8. Tuck the toes under again, and we're going to inhale back, this time pushing strongly with those hands and almost coming into an extended puppy pose. And then as you exhale, gently squeeze the pelvic floor muscles. We're going to come to where the shoulders are right over the wrists once again. You'll feel those bigger abdominal muscles start to kick in. So we'll inhale back. We'll exhale, gently squeeze Mula Bandha as we come forward, 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 forward. See if you can keep that neutral spine position. Inhale back again. And then exhale, gently squeeze Mula Bandha, coming forward. And then if you like, we're going to lift up the right leg, lift up the left leg, and come into a plank. Hold this for about a breath cycle. And then we'll lower the knees down and we'll come back once again, releasing Mula Bandha as we open up. Exhale, gently squeeze Mula Bandha as you come forward, lifting up the legs into your plank pose. Take a breath here, full breath cycle, and then we'll exhale, bring the knees down. Inhale, bring the hips back. Exhale one more time, coming forward into our plank. You can always stay on your knees if you like. If you want to, come with me. We're going to lift the hips up. And now we're going to try to hold that for 2 breath cycles. Keeping those arms nice and strong. See if you can keep some awareness on Mula Bandha. And then we'll lower the knees down and we'll come back. Place the tops of the feet down again and come into a child's pose once again. So kind of coming back to where we started. We're just trying to ease into the practice this morning. Starting to find that resiliency in the nervous system as we start slow and build up some heat and then coming back to rest. So let's take one more breath here. Notice the shoulders being just a little bit